Let's do the roll call.
We have Arlene Zortman.
Here.
Carrie Snow.
Here.
Jenna Reed. Here. Glenn Pepper.
Here.
Molly O'Donnell. Here. Carol Dominguez. She's here. Lauren Selly.
Here.
Here.
Sarah Arney. Here. Leo Olivares.
Here.
And we have Quincy Williams who just stepped out.
So we have two that are not here. Tom and, yeah. Unless they can't get in the door, I don't know.
I'll go check.
Okay, let's, you've all read the minutes from August. Let's go ahead and I need a motion to approve. Okay, Jenna? I'll second. Okay, so, it does, the minutes actually are for August, in case any of you noticed that. Okay. So we're good there. So all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Good, minutes passed. Okay. So, looking around, I see lots of public here today. Oh, gosh. It's only when they have a problem that they show up, right?
Yeah.
Okay, organizational updates, board vacancy recruitment.
So, congratulations to Melissa. She has been hired by the city as our affordable housing program coordinator. So I'm very excited that she's going to join us on the city and still stay involved in Longmont housing, but that means we have a conflict of interest. So, right, not, but yes, that is the practice. So thank you for your service. Feel free to just say anything if you'd like to, or else I will go into next steps too.
We can go in next time.
You don't want to say anything about your new job or anything like that? You have the floor.
I'll be working with the planning department on making sure they, properly include housing. What else was there? Some other stuff too. Projects and stuff, but that's the big thing.
Good.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah. But it's been great with you all, and thank you for working with me. And I was really scared, but I always got my position. And then I was right over there, so we got like yeah.
So Molly, do we?
So the choice, and I just realized I was going to pull up our terms here. The choice that you have is the clerk's office just opened a fall recruitment, but I'm going to pull up her quick.
June of 27.
Okay. That looks. Is this one?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so your term ends June 2027, so it's still a good 18 months away, considering from the end of this year, if you were going to elect to go out for recruitment in the fall, and that person would get confirmed in December. So otherwise, you can wait until next June, and then that would be a one-year term. I think that we elected, the last time we had a vacancy come up, we elected not to go with the first recruitment and wait to the next one, but that was to maximize the term. In this case, it would be minimizing the term. So my recommendation would be to go ahead and go with this fall recruitment, but I wanted to see what you all thought.
So that would be right now, the one that's
Right
open
now.
right now.
Yep.
I agree. I'm one voice. I want to hear from some others.
Me too. I think maximizing it, what's positive 18 months versus a year, at least for me, was a very different.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. Is that our consensus?
Yeah.
So just FYI, the recruitment is open as of yesterday. So we'll quickly slide in with the clerk's office and have this position added. The interviews would be between October 23rd and November 20th. So we would again be doing an interview panel. recommendations due back to the clerk's office November 21st. The Board of Commissioners would interview on December 6th and then make appointments on December 16th. And so that means then that would be past our December meeting. So the first meeting of the new fiscal would be January.
So if it's open now, when does it close? When is it?
October 17th. Still a good amount of time.
Okay. Okay, if you guys know of anybody that you think might be good, well, you know, ask them to apply. Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
So we need to know.
okay,
For that item then.
items for input the LHA Board of Commissioners.
We actually don't have any. We're going to be canceling the September 16th meeting. We didn't have anything that was hot topic enough. It was also already scheduled to just be a 1 hour meeting because they're meeting as city council for budget for pretty much every Tuesday of September. So it was already going to be a swish. So we just decided to go ahead and cancel. So we have nothing coming up.
Okay. 6, resident quality of life.
So we have a special presentation. Leo is here. I know, we came up on you real quick. Huh?
Yeah.
Yesterday afternoon.
So would you like me to share the reports that I included in the board packet, or is there anything else that you'd like me to put up on the screen?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I was looking at the numbers the other day when you sent out the stuff. The numbers really aren't reflective of the total number of people I've seen and stuff. I had a meeting with my supervisor the other day, Brandy Queen, and we moved over to Salesforce to start tracking stuff now. So there was like a month where we weren't really able to input data because we used to use MCase and it was kind of shut down for a while they converted stuff over. But anyway, when I was talking to Brandy, I told her that I don't really log people that I see for 15 minutes or less. And she was like, yeah, I think we need to start doing that. Just because with MCase, it was really cumbersome to do that and then to keep up with it. So most of the stuff here is substantive stuff where it's like, you can spend working with a client an hour to, 4 hours, depending on what they need. So, like right now, I have probably 3 hoarding cases that I'm working on, and just things like that. So, and what I was going to say is, in 4 of the places, I'm right off the lobby. So, and my door is open, so when folks walk to their mailboxes, they usually see me and they just pop in. So those folks I really haven't been counting, and Brandy says, yeah, you need to count those because that's an actual, that's resource navigation. Usually they'll come in and say, hey, I need to find out, just one example of how do I get to my medical appointment? Things like that. And I give them that information. And so we're starting to log that stuff. So the numbers should go up with the Salesforce we're using now. I just wanted
Salesforce easier. It's much easier.
Yes, it's easier to, the MCase that we used before didn't really measure outcomes. So that's why we're kind of switched over so we can, you can see.
This is the old MCase data.
It's not really, we changed it up quite a bit. Brandy did a lot of work to, we all kind of worked on it, kind of brainstormed to figure out how to build Salesforce, not the technical stuff, but just, what we do in our jobs. So it'll be throughout the year, you'll probably see the numbers. The numbers will go up and then you'll probably get a better idea of what we actually do.
Speaking of that, would it be beneficial for the group to get a primer on what Leo's role really is?
Yes.
Do you mind telling them kind of what your main focus is?
So I'm a senior resource specialist for LHA. They hired me because I have 3 co-workers at the senior center, and they had waiting lists of like 2 to 3 months. People, for appointments. So we pretty much do everything. One of the big things is financial assistance. Our main thing is housing stability. We try to keep people housed, so you run into occasions where someone's car might break down and you have to pay for an emergency repair and then they can't pay rent next month. So we'll help them pay rent. A lot of our financial goes toward hearing, dental, and vision. We buy eyeglasses for people, dentures, just everything. And that's part of the housing stability too, is that insurance will cover some of those costs, but then most of the time they have out-of-pocket costs. And I help people. Another big thing is I'm working on several right now is help people sign up for long-term care Medicaid to get help in the home, things like that. Some folks get really bad really quick and we have to do like assisted living and that kind of thing. So do those things. Just a little bit of everything. I mean, some folks are really high maintenance. I see them every time I go in and they want me to look at their mail, help them go through mail. I love the job. I've built some good relationships and I just enjoy what I do. And it's, I worked in Denver for 21 years. Last 13 working with homeless people, and I thought I'd tackle this one. And I had to learn all the Longmont resources because I knew Denver, but not much about Longmont. But I like it here, and I'm still learning. You guys take care of your seniors, and I'm really glad to be part of that.
Do you want me to show this screen still, or do you want me to go down to the new one, the new data?
Probably. I mean, you can just like I said here. This is from last year, right?
This is through April of this year. When this is the old M.
Okay.
What did you call
So
it?
as you can,
The M data.
yes, as you can see, like under financial, we do a lot of financial, and that's to keep people housed. We do our financial assistance is usually one time for that particular thing. So I mean, we have folks that come in every year and want new eyeglasses, and we're trying to. It doesn't really work that way, but we try to help people. I mean, the big thing is, one thing I've noticed is a lot of folks that live in the properties don't have any disposable income. So any little hiccup, they're hurting, you know, and so it's wonderful to be able to help them. So I think financial is what we do the most. Health and medical is big too. That's long-term care. Oh, and I help people with benefits applications. So people on SNAP, all those things. One of the biggest things, and I hope they don't take it away, is Colorado has a Medicare savings program where Medicaid pays their Medicare premium. That's $185 a month. So that's a lot for some folks that don't have any disposable income. Housing, one thing about my folks versus my senior center coworkers, my folks are a little more stable as far as their utilities are paid, things like that. So they know they know what to expect. People that own houses and stuff that my coworkers work with, anything can happen there. There's, we had a lady not too long ago, she had a water leak and didn't know. She got a bill for like $3,000. Actually, the city, I think, wrote off a lot of it, but it's just different. So it's nice to work with little stability. But I guess you can go to the next one. I don't know if you did it too.
So can I ask a question about
Sure.
nutrition? Because I kind of went through and looked at these to kind of compare with last year. And that looks like it's going to maybe exceed what you did last year. What kind of things are they concerned about?
No, well, nutrition, SNAP benefits
Okay.
is part of nutrition. And then just maybe like food bank referrals and things like that. That's another thing, LHA, I think is it twice a month?
Just once now.
Is it where they come in and give them free produce and things like that? Helps a lot. But even one of the things kind of bad about our people is nutrition wise, we try to find other resources for them because the folks that live in the properties that are on SNAP benefits, they don't pay utilities, and that dings you really, really hard when you do SNAP benefits. Just to get the most SNAP benefits, they look at rent, utilities, and phone. That utilities is missing out of that equation, and so if their SNAP benefits drop down, a lot of the folks that I work with get $23 a month in SNAP benefits. So they need that extra little help. Yeah. But a lot of it is you folks that seems like there's been a lot of turnover lately, like folks dying, folks moving or whatever. And when I get you folks, that's when I usually get really, really busy because they come to see me and they like, hey, I've never been on SNAP, and so I help them get set up with all those things.
So once a month, and this is something you may want to pass on to your people whenever you see them, the senior center does a food table on Saturday, the second Saturday of the month. And so we help over there. And I have seen people come through from some of the different facilities, but it's free, they get, it's like, just food pantry.
Yeah.
It's mostly produce and some protein. And then the other thing is that there is a bus that goes twice a month that does take them shopping.
And we work a lot with Meals on Wheels. A lot of our folks go to the Our Center for meals. So yeah, there are a lot of options. Just some folks can't cook, so that makes it rough. So, and that's part of like the lady, one of the ladies I'm working with now. She's walked in her apartment the other day and smelled like smoke, like she had burned something. And it's a hoarding situation. And so just right away, I'm like, cooking is dangerous for her. So, we try to get, some folks don't want to leave. They want their independence, don't want to leave. So we have to work around that where they can get Meals on Wheels, or have someone come in and help them prepare meals. So there are a bunch of options out there.
Technology,
We usually send them to the senior center. We have a tech department there, kind of. Volunteer.
phones and things.
No, the city's pretty good about. The city's good the internet, but then we have like Lifeline for phones and different things.
I was just thinking in terms of, like, I had to buy a new phone yesterday. For a while I was having a heart attack. $1,000 for a phone.
Yeah, a lot of folks do consumer cellular. And then there's Lifeline, which is for low income folks. There are like 3 different carriers, but they can choose one. So there are a lot of options out there, but tech wise, I try not to open that can of worms because folks will, can you come fix my TV? kind of things. And I have before, if it wasn't like super busy, but we have folks at the senior center that you can take a laptop or phone and they'll show you how to use it.
So for the financial part, what are the resources that you have access to be able to help? It sounds like a lot of it's just like stopgap almost, with filling in here and there. Like, are you able to access a variety of things? Is it just in the city? Sorry, I don't know more about it.
Boulder helps us out a lot. Okay. Boulder County, Friends, Longmont, and I think there's one other grant. I can't think of the name of it. We have, like, when we do stuff, Amy Payan is like my mentor. She's the one that handles all the, like we sat down yesterday afternoon, we have a finance committee, which is just me and my 3 coworkers, and we go over cases like, can we help this person? We actually look at their budget and figure out how much disposable income they might have that maybe they could afford it or even pay a little bit on And then once I have a P card, so I can pay for stuff with that a lot. But Amy kind of figures out which budget stream we're gonna use. Cause she has a spreadsheet that says, okay, we have this much in this one. Yeah. But we meet every Monday afternoon to go over cases.
Kind of legal stuff.
Nothing really, just, I do the end of life medical master directive stuff. I can help people with those, but legal wise, we if you're familiar with the Go magazine, that there's an insert in the middle and it has all the resources we use listed in there, and there's a pull out and there's a legal section in there. And I usually sit down with someone and say, what's going on? And then I'll just look at which one fits their best, and then they just call and make an appointment. So we don't really, every now and then, there's actually a free legal clinic this month at the senior center that I've been having. I think it is. I have a flyer in my bag that I've been posting. But yeah, that's more of just a referral thing, just because we don't really have anyone that people come in asking about, some folks still have resources and they're like, what do I need to do to, if I die, I have 3 kids, and I'm like, yeah, you need to see an attorney about that. So they're for seniors, there's probably about 3 places where they can get free legal service, depending on income and stuff.
So Leo, I'm gonna ask you a couple questions. Going through here, so this is Aspen Meadows Senior. Do you think there's a reason why Aspen Meadows, how come some seem to get more contacts than others? Is there any reason, or just luck of the draw?
It's some of the places. I'm surprised the lodge seemed like it's busier than that. Like I said, I haven't been really logging walk-ins. I started to do that this month, but yeah, some places are busier than others for sure. I mean, it seems like the lodge and the Hearthstone to me are the busiest.
Are they the biggest?
No.
That's the
Fall River and Spring Creek are both 60 units. Hearthstone and Lodge are both 50 units. Aspen's is 50.
But Hearthstone and Lodge, because of the program, they're only paying 30%, so they are some of our lowest income seniors living there.
They actually hired 3 clinicians now. He was asking if I covered the suites. There's the suites in Zinnia now. They used the person that did what I did before covered the suites, but they had a hard time because there's a mental health component with a lot of the folks that are at the suites. So they actually hired clinicians. So they handle a lot of that. Just because it was so, Randy had told me that people before couldn't really handle the suites.
It certainly increases the workload because it's not just, I shouldn't say just, but it's resource navigation and everything that Leo does with an added layer of a lot of the attendance to the mental health support. So the clinicians there, once we had enough funding to bring that in, that was more beneficial. And the clinicians can refer them to senior services if they are, age appropriate services, that type of thing. They can still make referrals out, but having the clinicians be on site, and they're on site full time, is beneficial for there. So we focused Leo's time to our senior properties to make sure we gave enough resource help here as much as we could.
So Suites actually has 2 clinicians, don't they?
2 with third. She started, yeah, 3 now.
Maybe
Thanks, Carol.
Yeah, and I think the clinicians also branch out to my properties. If, like, especially with hoarders, you wanna get them involved because, you know, this is like, we can help you one time, you know, this can't happen again, so you really have to have someone that can, oh, I had a lady at, Village. She had boxes. She would go like to thrift stores, buy stuff, put it in her room, and that's where it would stay. She'd go buy stuff again. Then one of the ladies told me there at Village that when they put free stuff out on the table, she would take it, put it in her room.
Wasn't that a mental health issue?
Yes.
Yes.
So that's why I got the clinicians involved because she's compensating for something or, you know, trying to, it makes her feel better, but you can't live like that, it's, you know, because there are rules and stuff, so rules and guidelines. So we try, if we know this might happen again, we try to stay on top of it as much as we can, because we want to keep people housed. I mean, you know, you guys are just talking about housing earlier. It's one of our biggest crises, I think, in this nation. It's just not enough affordable housing.
I looked at the eviction document last week, and I think there were 3 cases from last one year. And that's tough to look at, because you know where the next stop is.
So we try as hard as we can to keep people housed, but sometimes it's just, you know, if they do it again and again, there's only so many times that you can help them.
So Leo, are you allowed in any way to include families in any of these things, like the hoarding or?
Yes, that's one of the first things we do actually is like the property manager will usually bring it to my attention, and then we'll go, when we sit and talk, I'll say, do they have family, you know, in their case, I mean, on their file or whatever, and we reach out to them all the time, but you won't believe how many people just say, no,
Yeah.
that's their problem. I called a guy, and there's a lady at Fall River this morning, called her brother, and he goes, what do you want me to do about it? So that, you run into those things, so then we kind of know, like, okay, she's on her own, or he's on his own. You know, we need to do what we can. But we definitely reach out, try to find family, help first. And we had just a bunch of different scenarios. We had a lady go to assisted living, and we've been helping her for like 3 years. She would sign, she goes, yeah, I need to go to assisted living, and then when they say, okay, you ready? She goes, nope. Like, she probably did that half a dozen times. Finally, they put her in assisted living, and then we were contacting her family, like, hey, someone needs to come get her stuff. They finally did, but it took like 2 or 3 months. So but then again, there are a lot of times when her family does step up and they, you know, help out. So.
What do you have to do in a case like that with your stuff? You guys can't really take it out of the rooms.
No, we have to evict them, and it's a code issue as well, access, ingress and egress. I mean,
In
usually
case
it's
those
recorded.
apartments are sitting there, not generating revenue.
Yeah. And so I think in this one case, her son came and he took some of the stuff. And it's like, well, you know.
Yeah, I mean, if they come and take what is valuable to them or sentimental, and they say, the means to get rid of all these things, and they sign it over, they release any claims to the items, give us the keys, we can move forward. We dispose of the items, they don't get their deposit back, because usually the cost to dispose of the items exceeds their deposit anyway. And then we can take possession of the unit, but in the case where the family refuses to come get the stuff, nobody has given us keys, we can't actually legally take possession of the unit without an eviction. So we work really hard trying to get the families to at least sign over the claims and give us the keys so that we can move forward. But it's very similar to the situation when a person dies and have no next of kin. We have to go through that whole process, and it's a waste of money and time, but wanted to share to your question earlier about the community food share. It used to be called Elder Share, now it's Blue Spruce Neighbors. It used to come to, they go to Fall River, Spring Creek, Hardstone and Lodge. They used to do twice a month in 2024, but in 2025, because of the funding cuts and uncertainty at the federal level and lack of participation in volunteers, they had to go down to once a month, and I think everyone really felt that shift. Our senior community really struggled with only knowing one visit per month. So hopefully that will change next year. I haven't heard, but they're still only doing 1 month or once a month visits.
Yeah, that has been, they've been concerned about that.
Leo, did you develop any kind of profile on the average occupant in this place?
Not really, I mean, I just know most of the people, the AMI units can be really rough for people because they, it's, all those folks are always coming to me and they're like, I need a voucher, and I'm like, it's.
So by the AMI units, you mean the affordability of the units that they're living
Yeah,
in, even at LHA properties?
Yeah, and in regards to just affordability, I get a lot of those folks that come to me and they go, I'm struggling, I can't pay this rent, and I'm like, everywhere I work, Denver, they're waiting list, housing waiting list everywhere. I mean, it's just, and I think you had said, people want housing choice vouchers, which they personally get a voucher, but I don't think those are coming anytime soon. But I'm glad that Longmont has been doing project-based vouchers, because that's helped people a lot.
And to touch on that, we had a info session on Thursday last week for Ascent, which is our multi-family property. 80% of the people who came were seniors. And they all showed up in force Monday morning to apply for project-based vouchers. Even people within our own portfolio from other properties were coming to try to get a PPV.
So just for, can you explain a PPV just for
Oh, yes.
the short version?
So the project-based vouchers are the ones that, the housing choice voucher, the tenant-based, you can take it with you to any landlord that will accept them. And project-based stays with the unit. It's used as a financing tool in your building and allows us to get greater cash flow from those units, but then also protects the affordability for the lowest income residents in our community. And the ones at Ascent specifically are at 30% AMI. So you can qualify for a PVV if you're at 50% and below for the wait list, but those units are specifically 30%. So they are targeted for the lowest income folks in our community.
And you only pay 30% of your income. So, compared to, so we have project-based vouchers peppered throughout some of our properties as they've been available when the properties were originally developed. For example, at Village Place, we have 18 on site out of 72 units. So that means the other units, we have a spread of affordability levels. Some of those are 50% AMI and they don't come with a voucher, meaning if you don't have your own voucher on the housing choice voucher side, then we cap our rents to make sure they're affordable to a 50% AMI person, but that's still really challenging for a senior that's living on Social Security alone, for example. So that's why we still have the project-based vouchers are gold to the tenant, or either voucher, honestly. But then we still have some affordability concerns. And that is the challenge of the machine, because you have to bring in certain rents to be able to afford to build affordable housing. And so it doesn't solve all affordability issues out there.
And we also have 237 people on the waiting list as of yesterday at 4 o'clock.
For all of the places.
No, just for Ascent.
Just,
For-
well,
for-
for
Just for project-based
just
funding.
the
Just
family
just for
project.
PPP vouchers.
Oh,
the
so
waiting
there's
list.
18 available and 200, but yeah. There's,
This list can also pull for Aspen Meadows neighborhood.
And we have
And
500, we have 547 for the portfolio. So, and that's on the waiting list.
And you said, yeah,
so I did attend that meeting Thursday night. I thought that you guys had a good turnout at that. The only thing, and has nothing to do with you guys, this really is a senior center. It's really hard to hear in there.
right.
And so without a microphone, it's kind of hard to even hear you guys.
And we were told not to use a microphone because it would interfere with the translation that was happening,
Yeah.
so.
And that was the other thing that was kind of a little confusing, but yeah, they're working on their technology in there, so maybe something will get better. But I thought it was relative, you
I
guys did.
saw people getting annoyed with the translation at first
Well,
until
one
they
of them
looked
was
back.
my husband.
Until they looked back and actually realized what was going on, they're like, oh, okay. Yeah.
And she was much louder in the beginning, she did tone down, but yeah, that's good, I'm glad I was there. Yeah, so.
Molly, can I ask you kind of a bigger level question? I talk to people all the time, and the one refrain you keep hearing is, look at all the affordable housing that's building in Longmont. But sitting here, it doesn't look that way to me. I mean, the affordable housing is basically us, right? For the most part.
We do have community partners, all of our, compared to like Boulder, LHA actually works in, if you look at the whole pie of who's building affordable housing, LHA holds a slice, but there's a lot of other community partners out there doing it, except in the past year, there is not much cooking, other than Habitat. Habitat has got a good pipeline, they're getting, our inclusionary housing ordinance has really afforded them that, where market rate developers are looping them in to meet their requirements. Other than that, some of our private developers have completely paused. They're just waiting it out. We're trying to work with them on some different sorts of models to kind of weather the market. Like maybe you purchase an existing place, deed restricted and affordable, and then you can pull in cash flow and you can wait for a future bigger deal to come through. But land is too expensive, nobody's jumping on land and nobody's jumping on financing.
So where do they get, like, the light tech, the same way we do?
They often get, yep, LIHTC is one route. The in-between does have a pretty good pipeline, but they do it outside of LIHTC, so they're completely, they go out for funding sources, like grant funds, which makes it a little slower, because they have to gather all that. Thistle is who runs the cannery here, and another property up on 19th, there might be more. They are trying to get some things moving as well. They've got a really active development group. But our private developers, nothing in the pipeline, versus our private developers of affordable generated like 200 units in 2022. What lots of people think is affordable housing is apartments, and it officially is serving the need of the community. And that's where a lot of the vocal residents have been talking about, is just generally apartments.
That's what I expected. What about condos? Any movement since the law change on that?
On which one?
Condos?
No. So I am not sure that people are just starting to put out information, like attorneys doing analysis of would this actually result in change. The construction defect laws is what the legislation that came out. So far, it doesn't seem to be promising that that is going to solve the problem. Condos are still the insurance companies. There will be a lag, because we'll have to see. Somebody has to test the waters with an insurance company and say, okay, now there's new legislation. What would my insurance rate be if I did this now? So there's gonna be a lag of time to see how that works, but so far, some of the, at least attorneys' opinions that I've seen, it doesn't look like it's the golden ticket. So we still don't have condos out there. We don't see a wave of condos coming right now.
So Molly, if you know, you're talking about private investors, private builders waiting the market out. And you said they're not jumping on financing your property, right? I mean, I understand the financing, I understand the interest rates are gonna change, building supply prices are malleable, but it seems like property prices are just, I mean, are they waiting that out to see if property, like prices decrease? I just, or like land prices?
I don't know if anybody expects the land
It
prices to
seems-
decrease,
Yeah.
but the land price, moving on land
Right.
in combination with all the other elements, they're just not moving on stuff. They're just, maybe the capital that they put into land, maybe they're holding on to that to try and finish what they actually have maybe under construction, just in case something happens. There could be lots of reasons, but what we know is nobody's moving on land.
So we're in the process of selling part of our portfolio, so we're in the midst of like doing this whole thing. We're getting ready to close in a few weeks, but, so the feedback we've gotten is that, so the bigger properties now that have newly built, there's a lot of distressed, rental market on the market. They've had to get construction, so how it works, you get a construction loan, and then somebody's had to get a bridge, and then now they have bridges on bridges that because they're not able to get it leased up because the market is soft, and so they're not able to refinance that. So now you might be paying, your original construction loan, but now you've got two bridges at 10%, 12%. So we're not even talking about like the regular interest rate, we're talking, and it's not sustainable. So in the next couple of years, you're going to see sort of generational opportunities, foreclosures on large projects that can so there is a ton. I know it's been kind of talked about in the office space, that's been really soft. But there is definitely a reckoning coming because there was so much construction so quickly, and there's a lot of properties that are honestly big properties, like we're talking 250 units plus. So it's a tough, getting a deal closed right now is really hard. Yeah. So I don't see that improving in the next. I think it's going to be super interesting when it's like a couple of years. But in terms of people building, no way. I mean, when you have properties that are on the precipice of failure and people know that, you're not going to build. You're going to wait to buy that distressed property at 60% of value of construction value, like value to construct. You're going to get into that property at a less than what it would take to construct. So I don't see anything going on right now. No.
So that's all stemming from our seniors affordability crisis at our properties and why they end up working with Leo. Leo, can I ask you a question? So this is the new Salesforce data. Can you give us a little bit of information on how the categories changed and how you're tracking outcomes now and what that means?
Oh, yeah, I think, in speaking, I was talking to Miranda yesterday, we're still tweaking it a little bit. We meet every month as a resource team, and we'll bring up concerns about this. But I still think that we could use some tweaking, but it pretty much it's close. But I think there needs to be more detail, a little bit more detail. Because you can't really provided education, to me, that's kind of vague. But it's basically that is what we do a lot of is, transportation is one thing. I get a lot of questions on transportation, like Longmont rides is great, by the way, thank y'all for I had a lady looking at her bank statement the other day. She had Longmont ride. So, but yeah, I think there needs to be a little more detail. But it's pretty cut and dry the way it is now. It's just the like housing wise, someone had brought up housing earlier. I don't do as much housing because my folks are pretty stable. The only thing, that's why I bring up earlier, is everyone wants a voucher. So that's one of the recurring things I see is, I need cheaper rent, I need cheaper rent. So housing wise, I'm like, are you on waiting list for, Hearthstone Lodge, or, one thing the senior center does, Amy's always scanning, like she's connected with Boulder Housing Partner, Boulder County. So we're always looking at any waiting lists that come open. So we actually have a housing interest list at the senior center where we sign people up. So if a lottery comes open, we reach out to them and say, hey, there's a lottery this day. And we'll even take a couple of days. The lotteries usually run a couple of days. Well, I haven't done it yet, but they were saying that at the senior center, it's all hands on deck, and we'll help people apply for lotteries. But like she was saying, it's hard to come by. So, and that's one of the things I tell folks, and I hope it helps them. It's like, when they're having hoarding issues, it's like, you don't want to be evicted, believe me. It's, first it's on your record, and then housing is hard to come by. You got to fix this. I'm just hoping that helps a little bit. But yeah, we're still. This is a work in progress. Like I said, benefits applications, do a lot of those. A lot of benefits resource navigation is work with Social Security a lot, helping people. There are folks that coming from Denver. I worked with homeless people the last 13 years, and I helped so many people get on SSI because they didn't have the work history to. They were disabled, but even I'll notice folks that their income's really low, and I'm like, have you ever applied for SSI? And they're like, no. And just let's do it. And it bumps their income up. And like, bad thing about it is your rent's going to go up. And they're like, transportation. We do some folks are on Medicaid, so I can help them find a ride to medical appointments. Longmont rides is great. One of the things with all this too is that when the economy slows down, a lot of nonprofits go away, and then it starts to speed up a little bit, and then new ones will pop up. So we're constantly learning. So this is all very fluid. Like I said, we have a resource meeting once a month, and it's like, hey, have you heard of this place? And we'll add it to the Go magazine, things like that. So, but it's always changing. But yeah, like I said, this is a work in progress. I think it needs to be a little more detailed. And Brandy had brought that up yesterday. That we're still. I think we could do a better job of measuring outcomes. More like because this, like I can say, I helped the person with the application, but it doesn't say that they were denied or approved, So those kinds of details is what I'd like to see.
When you do a legal, do you work with actual attorneys on this, or what is your legal example?
Most of those can be just referrals.
So this is more the kind of stuff that's coming into you, not just
Yeah, it's.
quality money.
I think eventually it'll get to where we're measuring outcomes better. This is better than what we had before. Can you say that?
I think this is good.
Yes.
Tells you what you're.
Yeah, but I'd like to see, like if you pull a client up, let's say I helped them with housing or benefits application, long-term care, when you open that case and you look in there, my notes will say help client with LTC app. They've been approved, they've been contacted by A&I Avenues caseworker. They're setting up a plan for them, so you don't see any of that here. So that's trying to figure that all out. So I think a lot of the details not there yet, quite there yet, because it took a lot of work to get here, because you're transferring the data we had in one M case that we were using to Salesforce now. So just doing that was like, hey, success. But now we're still tweaking, so.
What are you gonna do with that data once you have it? I mean, it sounds like it's a pretty labor intensive effort for you.
Well, I mean, the thing that's nice now, like we were saying earlier, if I get a walk-in, that I wasn't really tracking those people before. It's kind of like, okay, it's gonna take me longer to data entry that than the time I spent with them. So now with Salesforce, if I see someone, let's say I did a transportation, I said, here, you need to call these people and set up Via or somebody, for Rise or whatever. We'll contact them. What was that again?
I think you would have gone,
Help with transportation.
I think you were gone the success of.
Oh, yeah, okay, so, yeah, so,
Highlight the fact
yeah.
that we get,
now I remember.
bring up issues with transportation across the board or
Yeah, so,
one time.
so resource-wise and what I do is just Salesforce is gonna be a lot better, because I could see a client for 10 minutes and say, okay, I got them connected with transportation. I can go in there, it takes me 2 minutes to enter it in Salesforce versus what it used to be. So now I can track more people, and then, you don't wanna, because a lot of times I'll have people waiting for me to see me right after a client. And so you don't wanna just write stuff down, because then you'll forget and you won't document it right. So after I see someone, I'm able to do it now right afterward, just like, okay. Most of our folks are in our system already, so I can go in there, just type their name, their last name, and they'll come up. Just click on them and just boom, 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 and you're done. So that's gonna help a lot. But like I said, this here, what you see here, this was some standard stuff where I spent time with people. I think like the legal one there was probably, I helped the lady connect, her husband was passing away. She wanted a power of attorney form and stuff. So I helped her connect with that. I believe that's what that was, so it took a little while. But it can be, and it can be just, you need to call, what is it, Boulder Legal Services, which are free legal services. But yeah, we don't, and like I said, we have a legal clinic this month. I think it's the 20th, whichever it is. It's a senior center, so if you know of any folks who need free legal service. Yeah.
It's the third Saturday.
I have a stack of those.
And I know Boulder does, their legal clinics are like topic specific, so that's also good. They're probably gonna get, if they're able to get there, some specific, let's say like, wills and trusts and people who really know more about the probate law, more than just like general coming into the council.
And even the senior center, I always tell people, you need to grab a Go magazine, because there's just so, we have, last year I spent a lot of time actually going to those classes, because I had to learn stuff myself about Longmont, the community, and then but there's so many good classes that are like people worry about, the state recovery. They have a house, they're on Medicaid, are they gonna take my house? You can connect with an attorney to help you navigate that, classes like that. I went to that and it was packed. So yeah, it just, I'll go through the Gold magazine with people, with residents and say, yeah, you need to attend this, and this is how you sign up. So, yeah, we're definitely not legal experts.
So Leo, I'm assuming that you have regular hours at these places, so is it like half a day a week, or how does that work?
I do, Monday I do Village on Main in the morning. And then we usually have our resource meeting that afternoon, financial meeting. Tuesdays I do Aspen Meadows in the morning. Then I do I meet with my supervisor, resource team that afternoon. Wednesday I do these all run together, man. You go to 6 different places. Wednesday, Spring Creek, Fall River. I split that up. The properties that are across the street from each other, I split those up. I do Friday, I do Hearthstone Lodge. Thursday is a floating day. I usually, like I have a lady right now that's, she, a project-based voucher, the 2-bedroom one is open. So I'm helping her get connected with that. So those are the kind of things I'll do on Thursday. Just, a lot of folks can't see me on the set times that I have. Well, some folks work and things like that. So we'll set aside Thursday where I can go to different places. So it's an adventure. Going to different places, I lose track of days, like you would believe. But I usually show up when I'm supposed to be.
Is there any other questions for me?
Yeah. Any other questions? We need to kind of move along here. So thank you. This has been very informative. I like this. I'm just wondering if we could get something like this maybe a couple times a year or something like that to give us an idea.
Yeah, and it's like I said, I think it'll be better and we'll improve with time as far as details and stuff. It's just we scrambled to get this done, and then we're still working on it. There are duplicate clients in the system and all those things. There's a lot of stuff to clean up, but I like it a lot. It's easier to track folks.
Well, it gives us an idea of what you're actually looking at and what the people are concerned about too, so, okay.
But keep up the good work. Let's keep trying to come up with some affordable housing.
Thank you for coming.
You guys, I'll say this, you guys do a lot more than Denver does for their seniors. So.
Well, that's encouraging.
Where do you work for?
Denver Human Services. I worked at Denver Human Services, and I would actually cover some senior centers, and Denver doesn't really get involved, the government doesn't, in regard to seniors much. They would rely on nonprofits to do everything. So when I came here, I was blown away at what Boulder and Longmont do for their seniors. Thank God.
There's a few of them.
And
Okay,
the baby boomers are.
just right at the door.
Is that all right? All right. Y'all have a good
Thank
day.
you. Thank you. Okay. 7, rising issues in housing.
There's one thing that I think we should mention here. Just tracking our voucher shortfall funding with HUD. We do have an indication from HUD that they expect our shortfall to be funded in December. And they add, this is coming from staff level, they add a qualifier. I have not heard anything different from this. So we are still, that doesn't mean we're gonna stop paying attention. We're gonna make sure we still have our Plan Bs in place to bring to the Board of Commissioners to analyze if we see the carpet from that statement being pulled out at any time. So that is very good news. We also are not, we're going in with eyes wide open, so that's the update I'll provide for that. Which really means, at this point, we should not anticipate anybody having to lose their voucher, so.
Good, okay. All right.
Otherwise, we have no agenda items for this one unless the group wanted to propose something.
Okay. I'll let you report, development and other project updates.
Laura, do you mind doing a recap of Ascent marketing and lease-up efforts first?
You guys did get a preview of our new website, last month, or the month before, maybe last month. We worked really closely with the city's communications team to come up with a plan for marketing the waitlist opening, both the project-based voucher and the affordable units. The PBV voucher waitlist opened this Monday at 9 a.m. And we had, Quincy's already given you the number of people who were on that list as of 4 o'clock yesterday. And the affordable units, so we have 18 project-based vouchers, and then the remaining affordable units, that waitlist will open this coming Monday, the 15th at 9 a.m. The PBV waitlist stays open for about 2 weeks, and then the affordable stays open in perpetuity. Like our other properties, we came up with a plan for an interest list just to start gathering email contacts and people who just wanted to stay updated about the progress, both of leasing and also construction. Not everybody on the interest list wants to live there necessarily, but they might just want to know what's happening with the property. We had a pretty good interest in the interest list. We probably got over 300 people on that list as of now. Part of that process was also getting our website updated with an actual project website where we could point people to information about Ascent, even though it's not live yet, to apply for, just tracking the construction, upcoming events, things like that. It was important for our communications team to have somewhere to point anyone on the interest list to get information. We worked on some simple frequently asked questions so that we could get that information out to the general public as well. We did, with our initial posts on social media and emails out to the interest list, our PIO team was getting a lot of questions, but it generated a lot of interest in the project and also in LHA. So we had over 50, I think about 55, maybe a little bit over 55 at our information session that we held last Thursday. That was a huge lift, mostly carried by Jennifer with Children, Youth and Families. She was a huge help. She secured the venue, got the translation devices, provided Spanish translation to our families, and also provided childcare for teams for any families who wanted to attend or needed someone to watch their kids so they could focus and listen to the information. Katie and Quincy and I provided the presentation and went through everything. We also had Wild Plum come and talk about PCE and what services they offer, because we do have the Early Childhood Education Center on site, which they are not anticipating being in operations until summer of next year. They have to go through a lot of regulatory process with the state to get their licensing to open up those classrooms. But they were just providing some information about the services that they offer. We went through income qualifying, the project-based vouchers, the difference between the two programs, the application process, because I think a lot of people get nervous about doing things online, and so to kind of see it and be able to answer questions was really helpful. And then we also went through what to expect when you do get a call from our team to lease up, what kinds of documents will you need, what kind of information are we going to be looking for. So we've never done anything like that before for our properties, so I think that it was really helpful to get that information to people. It also cuts down a lot of questions coming into our main office and our window. So having really great turnout already for the PDD wait list. I expect the affordable will be the same. We have 40 and 50% AMI units, and then 70 and 80% AMI units. And luckily, they are not underwritten at 70 and 80% AMI because that is actually above market rate. Caveat being, if you're getting, the base rent is about the same, but if you're adding all the fees, market rent is higher depending on what fees are included. So those rents will be more closely underwritten, or we're gonna be offering them around 60% of the money.
So I know that people are gonna be paying utilities over here. Does that include the seniors that will be over there as well?
Any tenant over there has to pay their
Has to pay the
utilities.
utilities.
They don't pay for water, sewer, and trash, that's included in the rent because it's one service that we're covering.
Are
If
they all electric units?
they're all electric, but there's also gonna be an offset because of our partnership with LPC and having solar property. So they will get some discount on their utility bills for electric based on that partnership. Nextlight is also in the property, so they can purchase Nextlight, which is cheaper than typically Comcast or is it CenturyLink still services here?
Yeah.
So they have options. Yeah, just even if they're seniors, they're still gonna have to pay their utilities. And I've been very clear with any seniors who have come, that I've talked to from our current properties that are interested in moving over there. I'm like, understand you're gonna be paying the highest 2025 AMIs for those units and utilities. So, you know, it is a new apartment, but it might be more expensive going into it than what you have now, especially if you've been living there a long time and are not up to the maximum AMI level. But they are very interested in the PDPs because that's way more affordable.
And they have the same cameras that we have everywhere else now. And what about the next like multipliers?
They will have the same camera system that was designed with the same folks that we've been using for the other projects, which are completed in Sarah. We'll talk more about that. But yeah, same camera system will go in that we'll have the access to as well. But they're external cameras only. They don't have we have internal hallways. There's no cameras in there, but we went through the drawings and there's ample coverage around the perimeter of the property.
And then in the future, if we see we need additional.
Really excited. It's scheduled to potentially get our TCO in December for our first building. So we'll start calling up people probably in a month or two. Start getting people ready to come in and start leasing up move-ins in January. Not a great time, but what can you do? Yeah.
They are really moving over there. They look nice.
Are we gonna schedule a walkthrough?
Yeah, we were waiting for it to be a little more to look at, which I think we're there.
Yeah.
So we can go ahead and do that. Maybe our October meeting, maybe we'll plan to do it on site. I mean, this might be difficult to handle there, but maybe in conjunction with that
Well,
meeting.
we could maybe host it at like Hearthstone
That's true.
and then walk over.
We could do that.
Yeah, make it a short one. Does that sound good? Sounds great. That way it's still in the same time frame.
That's true.
Okay.
Okay.
Hopefully there'll be no snow.
Well, we'll find out how it's well you clean the property.
There's gonna be a little mud, so don't wear those.
Good understand. I think that's the majority of our updates for development and project updates at this time. We keep keeping tabs on our next new build project. We've also mentioned looking at options for Briarwood if they're still all in the works. Still analyzing options for all of those. So actively working on them, and hopefully we'll have some good concrete updates to provide soon.
Okay. I ran mine upside down the wrong way, so. Okay, occupancy report.
Haskell Meadows neighborhood is sitting fully occupied. I forgot to add the number on Briarwood as well, but Briarwood is actually fully occupied as well. So We have 2 properties at 100% right now. We are still trying our hardest to fill Aspen Meadows Senior. Conversations have been had. We have discussed dropping the rent. We have talked about maybe dropping the 2 times the rent on the income that you have to make, 2 times the rent to maybe 1.5. But it is very difficult to find seniors that make $2,500 a month to be able to live there. And then on top of that, they have to want to live there. Our portfolio is so amazing that they are choosing other properties over that. And we're just gonna have to find ways around that right now. That is our true struggle. All of the other properties, we have applicants in the pipelines, and we also have applications on those vacant units that we have right now. But Aspen's is my problem child. I'm trying to find out a way for this one to figure it out, because it's difficult right now. We have had some people pass away at the suites, but we know that with the suites, and I know we don't put any on here. We have people waiting for those units. We just have to have those units available, so those won't be difficult to fill. And that's pretty much the property update that we have for right now.
How has our occupancy rate changed over the past few months? Yeah, it's not. Were we always hovering, were we at 95 here when we were at that big dip a couple months ago?
I think so. What we're finding too is people are leaving certain properties to transfer to other properties. So it's not really helping the numbers, it's kind of just shifting people around in the portfolio.
Within the LHA.
Within LHA, yeah. It's not a ton, but we're seeing that more than often.
Did they tell you why?
Just new. They just want to see something new.
Something different?
Yeah. Several people at VOM we have that have transferred within the last couple of months. We have another one coming up here soon. So the number's not going to really change there. But we have found one person with a voucher who wants to move to VOM, so that's nice. We can get one of those units filled. But the 60% rents are still extremely too high over there, just across the portfolio. And then we also have our the vacancy report. We did it last month. We had it. We've been doing it month to month. Lauren started doing it in the beginning of whatever month we were in of this year compared to last year. So we have that report as well, and the numbers almost look the same. It's almost 100 grand. The delinquency is almost 100 grand less than what it was last year. So that's good, but those numbers look like that last month as well.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
So is part of that because last year we did not lease out Village on Main because of the change. So that would account for some of the cost, I would think, the difference there maybe.
So they've been, I'm not sure if any of those vacancies at Village on Main are still vacant from when we,
No,
I would
we-
expect not.
No.
If I'm not mistaken, we only have one unit that's vacant at Village on Main, and that's the unit. Okay, well, we have one because we're switching hers to a manager's unit, so yeah, we just have one, and that person has a voucher. Jackie's working with the voucher team to get them in, so that one should, we're not even having vacancies over there.
The vacancy lost last year was a lot due in part to the short-staffed maintenance team. If you remember, in May, when Lisa left, I took on the role of the regional, and then in September, Patrick went on three-month maternity leave, and we were down one maintenance position as well. So from September to the end of the year, it really was survival mode maintenance-wise, and trying to prioritize some of our long down units from meth that we needed to get those leasable by December 31st. Because if it isn't occupiable by December 31st, we lose the tax credits for that year. And so we were focusing mostly on that, and then unit turns and lease up were secondary. It's always you've got to pick your battles, and so that will contribute a lot to the numbers in 2024.
What's the turnaround time?
It's, I think, for unit terms, it's
Well, it
not, it
depends.
should be 5 to
If
7
we're
days.
talking about just a regular unit that somebody moved
Yeah,
out of, that we
yeah,
don't
not
have to
that
meth
thing.
test or anything like that, it's closer to 5 days. But if they start doing something substantial in the unit, that number can vary from weeks to maybe months, depending on what is wrong with the unit.
And the one thing we're trying to hone in on with our maintenance team is diversion for special projects. We have a lot of big capital projects that we're trying to tackle because we have funding for it. That will sometimes divert the team. So balancing the need to get assistance in hands for specific properties versus their own unit turns. That's a balance that Patrick has turned away.
It just seemed like we got a lot more math issues last year than this year. That's just my perception.
We have some things in the pipeline that we're not real sure about yet. So, but yes,
Generally,
yes.
And we had a lot of
Report yes.
leftover meth units that have been lingering since 2022. So that's why we were trying to make a push to get them completed so that we didn't lose any tax credits for those units.
So if we've gone in and completely cleaned a meth unit, when somebody comes in to rent it, do they have to be told that it was a meth unit or not? Okay.
We just have to know those things. Like us as a property manager, we don't have to disclose that.
Okay.
I mean, it's public information. If somebody wants to go look for it, they can go to the state of Colorado and see the history of the unit that's been reported as a drug lab.
Yeah.
We still call all of them drug labs, even if it's just smoking. But as long as we've got it certified through the state and public health, we are good to go. Okay.
I also made a flyer for Aspen Meadows and then passed it out at the senior center, the Hour Center. Several people with disabilities, just to maybe see if we can get a hit on them. So took a little bit of extra step to do that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I like the way that this looks. Okay. Property updates. Which is this sheet, I guess.
Spring Creek, the irrigation issues, they were fixed, and we also had some annual inspections there that went really well. All of the inspections that we've had in the portfolio this year, we have done, the property managers have done a great job preparing for them, getting ready, and conducting them. We haven't had any substantial issues to where we failed any of them or anything of that sort. I know HUD, when they come out to Hartstone and Lodge, with us having an Inspire inspection over there, we did not drop 190% of the property being failing. So 3 years until they come back out, that's the max you can get, so we're happy about that. And we do have some other inspections that are in the pipeline as well, coming up that we are ready for and we've addressed. The flooring work is completed at Aspen Meadows Senior. I think we've already spoken about that one. Take that one off. Aspen Meadows neighborhood, if I'm not mistaken, Sarah, the cameras are still happening over there, but they're still on.
So they're up, they're just not in our system yet, so all the cameras have been installed on all the properties.
The Hartstone, we're still waiting on permits for those 2 units that participated in that fire. The other units are filled. We've transferred some people, moved some people into the vacant ones, but now we're just waiting for permits to get those other 2 ready, and the company, Rapid Restoration, they are prepared and ready as well. Permits take a little while, so we'll wait to get those. The lodge had their carpets cleaned. I think that was old as well. I know that Jonna, for the budget coming up next year, wanted to maybe have the carpets cleaned over there a couple times a year, because I think we complain about carpets getting really bad, so we're working on that too. The elevator over at the suites, they delivered parts. There's They haven't started work yet, I think because we're waiting on permits, right, Lauren?
The permit keeper.
The permit
Yes,
came
they-
through. There it is.
Patrick did a great job of pushing that,
Came through yesterday, so
harassing until it was
they'll
done.
start that work immediately, and we can update you on the next meeting on what that looks like. Briarwood's cameras are installed as well, and then VOM just has the most active residents that want to be involved, and there's nothing wrong with that, but they're just very active.
Hey Quincy, on Hearthstone,
Mm-hmm.
who's doing the, where are the residents
We transfer them.
to?
To a
Two
vacant
vacant
unit.
units in the Hearthstone. Yeah, just the 2 vacant units in the Hearthstone, we transfer them, and we're waiting on permits. Rapid Restoration is the company that's doing the work.
So they are gonna, will they stay at those units or? will
Yeah,
they-
they're gonna stay there.
They're gonna stay there,
Yeah.
okay.
And then we get to claim the lost revenue and the insurance for those 2 units, obviously.
Now, if we didn't have open markets to move into and have one of the hotels and transfer that too.
The issue was that they were very sick of living in the
The
hotel,
hotel, yeah.
so.
They were,
They would have still been there if they wanted to be there, but they didn't want to be there anymore.
I don't understand why.
Yeah,
So
I love
nice.
hotels.
Yeah.
okay.
Yardie implementation, the wait list is up and we're managing it. That's how I was able to track how many people applied for, the Ascents PPP list. I just kind of went through the page after page and found out the date. which
You
was,
get to pick the lucky ones, right?
No, I mean, I don't pick. I don't pick. I think, Tracy Quayle and Michelle pick, so they can pick the documents. Yeah, the moving in process, the payment, the rent payment is still in process, and then the work order management is still in process too. So those are things that I think we are going to implement closer to a second opening. And then marketing efforts. I explained to you guys that I made flyers to go pass out to the local agencies for Aspen seniors. I think we already knew about the May 22nd email blast that we sent out to. If I'm not mistaken, Lauren, did we send another one out?
Nope, just that one.
Just the first one? Yeah.
I did update in my work on preparing for the Ascent, marketing, and working with the comms team. I did update our list of partner organizations. I expanded it to the entire Boulder County. Anyone who might have any interest in sharing housing information for any reason, I added them to the list. So it's actually expanded quite a bit, which is great. And so I'll make sure we save that to teams. They should get that because then you can send that right out to them. So.
Yeah, I remember you did that. I remember that happening. So yeah, we are going above and beyond trying to get these properties filled. It's just difficult at the moment.
So I have a question. It seems to me that, and this is maybe even going back to last year, that at one point I thought we were looking at doing away with being, using Boulder County's marketing, and just doing Longmont because of the difference between the cost that we were dealing with on these AMI rents,
Oh, you're thinking of the voucher payment standards?
or any of the rents.
So
Just
the-
looking at a different market, what the end result was, so.
The AMI rents are set across the county by CHAPA, but the difference in the market across the county versus within Boulder proper and Longmont, that discussion is more related to our vouchers and what rent our payment standards for those.
But it could be in our marketing, we don't always use the max rents we don't charge the max rents at all times. So if we find in Longmont that our market is showing that we need to reduce rents or something, as long as the property can handle it with what assumptions it came in the financials, then that is something we can do.
It depends on our operating agreement with the lender investor. So if we want to reduce rents they're underwritten at a certain AMI, and if we want to reduce those rents, we have to typically show that we have marketed them at those rents and are having a hard time filling them, which is the process we've been in with Aspen Meadows Senior. those 50% AMIs are really hard to fill, especially 2 bedrooms. And so we can reduce the rents if we try to rent them out. And we do try to watch that. We're also looking at, I think Quincy mentioned this as well. We ask that people make 2 times the rent amount. We're gonna look if there's like a 10% difference, $50, $100 that they didn't qualify. But we look at the big picture, they can stay housed stably. It's worth it. It's situations where someone comes in and they don't make 2 times the rent, and after they pay the rent, only have $300 to their name. That's not a sustainable situation. But if it's a difference of $50, $100 to get the units leased and to get someone in there who needs housing, we'll be looking at that as well.
So we asked for 2 times month rent plus the deposit, right? So that's pretty close to $5,000.
Well-
Not 2 times the rent to turn it. We just want to make sure that their income is 2 times the rent amount.
So they don't have to pay that?
No.
Okay.
They only have to
They do
pay
have to pay
$1,000 for the
deposit.
deposit. Yes,
And you're
and there's services to help them pay
Yeah,
that.
if you're a Longmont resident, every Longmont resident so far that I've helped move in has gotten a deposit paid. They've not paid it out of their own pocket.
Okay.
Every single person that has lived in Longmont that has moved into other Chase portfolio, they haven't paid for a deposit. Not saying that it won't happen. My luck has been great so far, so I'm knock on wood, but the agencies are helping. Our center will get 500, senior center will get 1,000, and then Hope for Longmont will also get 500. So I'm partnering the Our Center and Hope for Longmont together, and then the senior center will have to go there. So
Okay.
The 2 times income, standard used to be 3.
standard used to be
The
3.
laws
Yeah.
changed to say you could do 2. I have that, I see problems with that.
I mean, that, if they're at that limit, that means 50% of their income is going to rent, which means their cost burden. So, not great, but it also makes sure that we're not putting someone in a housing situation that they can't sustain and then turning around and evicting them 3 months later.
Okay.
And staffing updates, we have a community manager role. I've been interviewing for the last week. I'm gonna interview all this week as well. Lauren will join me on the 2nd round of the interviews coming later this week, but the vacant assistant community manager role will be at Village on Main Street, Briarwood, Aspen Meadows, Senior and Neighborhood. And then we are also, Patrick and myself, working with Patrick to help him do his hiring process, his first round for the maintenance tech over at Ascent. And then also, we have interviews this week for the property manager at Ascent as well. So those are underway, and hopefully sooner than later, we can introduce you guys to 2 new additions to our team.
So are you getting a decent amount of applicants for these positions?
Oh, yeah, we're getting a good amount. I'm gonna push to get them posted on other job sites, but for where they are now, we're getting,
Good.
Quincy, you already stuff. What kind of an education plan are we using to get everybody up to speed and how to use it?
how to use Yardi. I think that's something that we'll do closer to Ascent, right? We'll maybe have info sessions to explain to people how to use Yardi.
I think on the applicant side, for applying, it's pretty straightforward. We don't ask, on the voucher side, we don't ask for a lot just to get on the wait list. And there is a document you can download when you're on the landing page as an applicant for how to apply that kind of gives you a walkthrough with screenshots, which is really helpful. On the affordable side, we do ask for a lot more information. We don't upload any documents for the wait list, which is helpful, so people aren't trying to fiddle with that to take time. When it comes time to apply, I imagine, because it's gonna be our first time as landlords going through the application process online and leasing, there will be a lot of overlap in training, both our staff and then the applicants who are applying. So, yeah, we'll probably have clinics where we do it with multiple applicants at a time.
You guys been formal, you too.
I think more of a written document SOP with screenshots is probably going to be more
Just like the
helpful.
one that we passed out for Ascent.
Yeah.
It's very self-explanatory, page after page, yeah.
You guys really drilled down on that a whole lot at that meeting Thursday night, saying this is what's required, this is how you do it, and, yeah.
I think people get a lot of anxiety about applying online and they don't know what to expect, and so to be able to see, this is what the website looks like when I land, so I know I'm in the right place. And this is what it's gonna look like for me to apply and what information I need to have ready. I mean, some of we had seniors waiting at our door at 6 a.m. on Monday because they thought it was gonna be a line at the concert. And they were very pleasantly surprised that there wasn't a huge line, and they came prepared. They knew what their income was, they knew they had already created their accounts. So it was great. I think it would have been a lot worse, especially for people who aren't super savvy online, to have anxiety about applying and then be later in the process or later down the line because they weren't really prepared. And that's what we wanted to avoid. Thank you.
Okay, anything else?
That's all.
Anything spectacular you want to tell us?
I think that's all spectacular.
Okay, Sarah, public health and safety updates.
Gave you the camera update. I woke up at like 3 a.m. last week, dreaming of meth detectors. The fact that we still need to buy batteries for them. So, for the ones that go into Ascent, so, that's on our list. As far as calls in the last month, the suites, we had about 20 there. The rest of the properties, 1 to 0. Spring Creek, we have a resident right now causing some issues that we're dealing with John. And that's about it.
So your suites calls, is that still the dog from last month?
It's the dog, we had a death, noise complaints, assaults, trespassing. It's kind of a smorgasbord.
Did have a full lunar eclipse this weekend.
Yeah, right, we did.
Buckle up.
It's okay. Let me pull that for you. I didn't pull that one, but I can real quick. Saying no record found, but that's not true. So hang on a second. Yes. Several calls, some assists with CORE, helping doing some welfare checks. Couple medicals, trespassing. Right now across the city we're just seeing trespassing on private property. It's not an odd thing for us right
Is
now.
that a criminal thing or a homeless thing?
Is what, trespassing? That's a crime.
I know. My question is, the trend we're seeing, is that because of homelessness or is it because of
For the most part.
criminal activity?
Well, both. But mostly the unhoused. So, at that point, our job is to get the owner to get a trespass affidavit on file with us, so we can take care of those problems that we don't have to call you at 3 a.m. when we find someone or we're called. So, all of the LHA properties have a trespass affidavit on file.
So are we seeing a big turnover in Zinnia or not? Are people pretty well there and they like it, or I'm just curious?
It's hit or miss. Some people are there and they love it. Some people don't want to be there. Some people don't really care to be there. And it's a mixture. It's not everything.
How's our wave? We knew that as people were first coming in, gauging their readiness to be in the apartment lifestyle, knowing that there was a wave at one point. Where do you think we are in the wave? The wave towards stability.
It's
So,
so, it's,
yeah.
it's so hit or miss.
It's
We
highly,
still have a few.
highly dependent on the applicants coming in. I will say after the first 6 months, Element went to the state, and similar to the suites, and I think we may have or may not have discussed this since we don't really talk about sending out a lot. Went back to the state and requested to no longer take referrals from one home. We found, much like we did at the suites, applicants coming through the one home system typically are not Longmont residents. They don't have connections to Longmont.
So it's the statewide list.
Yeah, the statewide one home. If they don't have connections to Longmont services, we have found it's harder for them to be successful in housing. So we have been using local case conferencing only since then. That has been better. But given that because of the state vouchers, and the tenant selection plan is a lot more loose than say the suites, it's a different applicant pool. It's some of the harder to house people that we see. I think we have a number of residents who really would benefit from assisted living or memory care. And
In all of the properties.
in all of the properties, but here, like, there's a subset of the homeless population that have been kicked out of assisted living facilities, and they're there, and it's very hard to be successful. But we work really closely with the case managers with all roads to try to get them set up with whether it's a daily visiting aid or a live-in aid is appropriate, that is an option. The one-bedroom apartments, though, so that's not always ideal. But looking at those long-term outcomes for those residents is gonna be a big thing, because there's quite a few of them with heavy needs.
Did you say you go to quarterly coffee conversation meetings?
Yes. I feel like it should have been like that a while ago. Just wasting money for one person to show up.
I showed up.
You show up with one person.
They said,
I
they said, oh no, we canceled today.
I wonder if we, going to quarterly is probably good for now, but I wonder if it's because it's so early in the morning, people just aren't even active.
If
We
they're
tried
out
to
all
move it to
night,
1
they're
o'clock.
not- If they're out all night, they're not gonna get up in the morning.
We tried to move it to 1 o'clock and
Still not.
still nobody came. So I don't know if it's just, I don't think we care over there.
It used to be pretty well attended for a while.
At first,
Yeah,
yeah.
initially.
Agreed,
First.
dropped off
Initially.
to almost nothing.
Now it's not, now it's like
Now it's like
nobody showing up, yeah.
And you guys still bring the donuts, so, yeah.
They'll bring it up,
Yeah, they will come down, grab food.
grab food and then leave, yeah.
Which,
That's what I do when I go to meetings.
You know you got a meal.
And then once I went down there and I was like, you know, you guys can't just come down here and grab food, you gotta stay and talk to us. And then nobody started showing
Nobody
up,
showed
so I was like, alright.
I mean, I think we saw similar lack of participation probably at suites at one point. It takes time to build community, it takes time to build trust,
They're pretty active.
Sweets is
They
okay.
are now.
Sweets is
Pretty
good.
good, yeah.
but it wasn't always like that. So I think it's just gonna take time. I mean, the property's not even 1 year old yet, so.
Yeah, there's always 40 to 50 people there
Oh, yeah.
every time,
It's
so.
the same issues there that we saw at the suites where it's like, you know,
It's not the same ones. It's their socialization.
They love it.
I think it's a different group of people entirely. We had, maybe next month, I'll bring the study. We had a study done by DU, we participated, about trauma-informed design and care, using the suites as an example of a property that's not designed with trauma-informed principles versus, other properties that are. And it was really interesting, they came and did a presentation to the suites residents at one of our coffees and conversations, and they expected to hear from suites residents that the lack of trauma-informed design made them feel less secure, less safe, more anxious, not sleep as much. But they actually felt really good in there, because they had a big sense of community. Were you there at that one? So that was really interesting, I think, because Sweets is pretty well established. We've got a lot of long-term residents. There's a little bit of a different culture at that property, with Zennia being brand new and having so much turnover in the beginning, getting stabilized. I think we'll get, it's just gonna take time.
They love Quincy. Every meeting's town.
Where at?
Sweets.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice to know.
Some of the guys that stand in the back, you know?
Yeah, they're good people over there.
Yeah.
Anything else, Sarah? Okay. Carol, do you have any?
No, I just think you all kind of touched on this. We are oddly in the middle of, we're in a fairly significant paradigm shift, I just think globally. And the question is it a permanent or temporary paradigm shift in terms of what we're seeing? And
Speaking about development here.
just everything. And it's all linking with each other. So we presented the budget to the city council for the city. And, you know, we're in a similar position, but not probably as drastic a situation as some of the cities that you've seen in terms of the layoffs that have occurred at the city of Denver, how Boulder's had to react. And that's partly because we created a sustainability reserve that's going to let us get through this year, and then we held money that was ongoing last year as one time, preparing for the adjustments in the property tax ratios. So really what we're seeing is a lot of economic conditions that are not created by traditional economic influences. So if you think about 2000, before 2008, you had the tech bubble burst, you had then in 08, you had the housing bubble burst, and so those were, pretty traditional economic things that have happened. What we're experiencing now is really, I think, an international economy that's in crisis based on decisions that legislative bodies are making. And same thing we're seeing here in the state, in terms of property tax adjustments and things like that, which is really coming to roost today at all levels of government. And so what that means is the amount of revenue and resources that are available for nonprofits and things like that is getting sliced right now. Whether it's a state level, whether it's a county level, then it's kind of coming to us, and we don't have necessarily the funding to supplement these gaps. And so there's just a fundamental shift. And then it's kind of starting to root itself into, what are you looking at in terms of core services? And so, as we've been trying to wrap our brains around this, and then where's investment coming? So you all talked about it in terms of development. There's actually, ironically, still a lot of money moving around. It's just in private equity and venture capitalists. And so, and it's really these large companies that are capturing that money, because most people are actually avoiding traditional lending for development projects, and they're moving into that VC private investment world because of the challenges of traditional lending. So what we're seeing, and so then today, our biggest problem in our budget was actually use tax, which use tax, we have a category called lumber, which is all building materials. And we're about 20% behind this year in use tax. Sales tax has been ahead, we have 1 month behind, but performance-wise, it's doing okay. But use tax is just probably the biggest killer for us financially. And what's really creating that is, as I talk to different executives in different industries through economic development work, is really, it's settling in uncertainty. I think they all have, everybody talks about the tariffs, and are the tariffs impacting costs? They are. But for most businesses, they can wrap their head around, if it's certain, then they can move through that world of increasing cost. They don't know what it is. And so everyone is just throttling, they're just stopping projects left and right. And I think that's kind of what we're starting to see in the world, which what's gonna happen is it's just gonna create everything that we went in the housing world in the last 2 to 3 years is gonna show itself again in about another 2 years. Because all these new areas are gonna be filled up, and then all of a sudden we're gonna start, choking again because we don't have enough housing. And what's continuing to move forward are traditionally projects that are so far down the road that they don't really have a choice, and their private investors are saying, if you don't move, we're done. Ironically, you've probably seen in the newspaper about the housing development at Hover and Nelson. That is urban renewal is involved in that. They're the prime example of private equity, private venture capitalists saying, we're done, we're walking, if you don't pull the trigger on this. And then they still had significant challenges in making the pro forma work, which is why urban renewal in that area is sliding in to help bridge the pro forma. So I think what we're going to see is for projects to move forward, a rise in public-private partnerships to kind of blend the financial gaps. There are these large companies that are ejecting out of Colorado right now. Yesterday in the LEDP meeting, there was someone that represents a lot of these groups in development processes, and this large national company said, yeah, we're just pulling all of our operations out of Colorado. And we're moving it to Texas, Arizona, and these other locations, and that's in large part due to cost of development. So many of the, I think, policy decisions are actually starting to show themselves in companies just saying, we're not going to build anything else here. And so then you take that, and I agree, it's going to be anywhere from 3 to 5 years before we see anything turn around outside of something that's a public-private partnership. Then you look at it over on the voucher side, paradigm shift there in terms of what we're seeing. And, I think I can confidently say it'll probably be 5 years before we get this, again, another 3 to 5 year horizon. I'm erring to the side of 5 before we even get any additional money for additional vouchers. So you can see the perfect storm is building out there in terms of where we're really sitting. Molly and I were on a conversation yesterday, and it looks like the feds are probably going to be really supportive of putting more housing authorities in what an MTW move to work category, which honestly we got to look at, because what it lets you do is make some adjustments. And so right now, under the traditional model that we're in as a housing authority, only 10% of your vouchers can be project-based vouchers. 10%, right?
10 with certain considerations for permanent support housing.
If you move to work, you actually can set that at a higher level, of which Boulder's not. So when you get clarity in terms of kind of why they're probably so successful financially is, I think, what, 40%?
They said, yes.
They're around 40% of their vouchers are actually project-based vouchers, which you can do under the MTW program. They also can adjust their recertification process to, like for their older adults, they moved it to every 3 years versus every year on the voucher side. So it gives you a lot of local control, but what it really does is lets you move your vouchers into your units that actually creates more financial sustainability. So, and then we heard that Boulder County just moved into it.
So we got some clarification on that. That newest notice of funding availability for the Move to Work program that came out about a year ago, that was only offered to existing Move to Work PHAs. But so what we'll be watching is for, and so I'm not sure if Boulder County was it existing and they just expanded their program.
They didn't have it all.
So I don't know how that
It must have
works
been
out.
something
There's
else.
something
Like a
more to do
subset.
there. But still in the future, that's what we'll keep our eye out for, is
So-
an opportunity.
So on the other side, what you're starting to see is these housing authorities that are in these programs are actually driving their vouchers into their development of their projects. Which there's an unintended consequence in that, because then for landlords that take vouchers, all of a sudden you start losing that naturally occurring affordable because there's no more vouchers, and then you're gonna, as a landlord, gonna start increasing your rent costs. And so, and that actually is something that the Secretary of HUD, he came from the Dallas area and did development. He's a big fan of that because that's essentially what starts filling your pro forma, your guaranteed income. So all that to say, everything's moving and changing around us. And then when you look at the nonprofit side, and we look at it from our health and human service standpoint, I mean, what we're seeing, it's crazy in this time. We're seeing more nonprofits being created. And so then when you take that, and now we're going, okay, we have more. The nonprofits that have historically existed, we're seeing more of those coming in and trying to look for funding because the donations and their private fundraising is not doing as well. So whereas like if we had 20 in the community and we have 5 that were consistently coming in for funding, it's like 15 are coming in now. So now you have just everyone that was here, more of them are now asking for money, and then you add more nonprofits being created, and they're coming in and asking for money. So the struggle that all governments are facing is that, and our revenues are decreasing. So when you look at that, there's even more challenges to the nonprofit community, and then you layer on the other side of it where there's more need. And so everyone's really struggling in terms of how we move through this world and what we do. And so I say, you know, that's just the world of housing and nonprofits. On the other side of it, when you look at governments and what we're trying to do, you know, we're probably fully feeling the pain of all of the inflationary increases because we're impacted by both the consumer price index and the producer's price index. So both of those indexes start hitting us in terms of our operational costs, which means everything that we did last year tacked on 25% because that's kind of what we've been seeing. So to fix a pothole, add 25% in the material cost, of which we don't control. So then all of our operational expenses are increasing, which then is forcing governments, and you're seeing it. You know, again, Denver, Boulder, is reducing their budget by 20 million. They eliminated their part-time temporary positions. So all these governments are starting to retract into their core just to get things done, which means how do we evaluate what this paradigm shift means for our community? How do we evaluate what we do? And how do we look at generating additional revenue within our communities, which is forcing us to look at different things. It drives up the need for public-private partnerships, and then on top of that, municipal budgets, government budgets are inherently built on growth. Meaning, if you're not growing as a community, you're not bringing additional revenue in. So now you kind of see how then the narrative playing out, if you're reading anything in newspaper, you know, we don't want more of this, but if you don't get more of this, then your revenue stream starts becoming throttled, which means when you think of things like utility increases, because remember, they're getting hit by CPI and Producer's Price Index. Now you're not able to build a growth calculator into your models to offset what that rate increase would be as if your population was stagnant. Then you start going into then the other generation of revenue, which is sales tax. And you look at retail, and the retail world is going through all kinds of havoc right now. And in order to get retail in your community, they look at three things. They look for four maybe: traffic count, rooftops, disposable income. Those are the three big things they look at. And so if you're not generating those, they don't make that decision. The example that I give to people is when we built Village at the Peaks, we were like pounding on Costco's door. They're like, nope, we're not even going to consider it. They considered it all of a sudden when our population, our rooftops increased, our population increased, disposable income was increasing, and the traffic counts were there. And then they were so specific on traffic counts that it's like, these are two places we will go to. We're not going here, we're not going in your community. So all of these things are inherently linked. That really kind of makes it interesting when you're looking at where communities are. And lesson learned from COVID was that communities with big box actually performed better financially than communities that didn't. And so, then to your point of why is land so expensive, it's because the supply of land is limited. So even if you're playing the long game and you're looking for 10 years out, you're still having to pay really high land costs because the supply is limited.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's kind of the paradigm shift we're in, which is really kind of forcing us to say, now we need density, you need to maximize, the available land use that you have so that you can generate these units. And then what we're learning now in True North is even when you hit a project of for sale units in, let's just say the 300 to 475 price range with a relatively fixed low HOA cost, because I can find some that are cheaper. Can also tell you the HOA cost is like $600 a month. So then all of a sudden that changes everything, and they're not much cheaper. We're still seeing a significant amount of people that aren't qualifying to purchase those homes. And so then it's kind of saying that's where you need the rental market to fix it. Then on the other side, you have from an economic and business development group, which is incredibly important for a community, is they're clamoring, we need the workforce, and we need the workforce to be able to live near us. So then when you look at that world and what they're looking at, that's the first thing that they play with, is there an available workforce? And what's the travel radius to get them here? And if you can't check that box, they won't locate. I mean, that was a big thing even in Smucker. So it is a chaotic world right now, and it's something where systems thinking really has to come to bear. And I just say all of this for you all because we're about to get into your budget. And everything I just talked about that we saw in the city's budget is actually going to show itself in some form in the housing authority's budget. And so we've got a lot of work to do, but I think from the broader systems perspective, I think that public-private partnerships are really going to show themselves at a different level, because that's going to be, I think, in the next 3 to 5 years, the only way something happens because of the lending environment. And we're going to have to get really creative to see how we can generate additional income coming into our communities. So, I mean, you saw the one at Homer and Nelson. We're working on an agreement right now on the transit station, which is again a public-private partnership. Obviously, we've been talking about the sugar mill for some time. That's going to fall into the same area, and then economic development's gonna be front and center, but we're also setting ourselves up where the economic development opportunities are going to create really high-paying jobs, but for really specific skill sets, which you then still have to think about, then where are the folks that don't necessarily have those skill sets going to work and where are they gonna live? And I read a book when I was in undergrad called The Third Wave of Democracy. And this guy actually predicted what's gonna happen is the United States is gonna become a service-based economy. And you're gonna have really technical, high-paying jobs. And you're gonna have service-based jobs. And so then the other key for us, I think, is to like work aggressively in front range on job training. So as you think about quantum and things like that, just really start working to get people into those job training programs because manufacturing is becoming automated. I mean, robots are doing it. We're doing it. We're mowing parks with robots. We're painting fields with a robot that can do in 40 minutes what 2 people it took 4 hours to do. So all of this is in play, and I just think we haven't seen this probably since the 80s. This kind of paradigm shift in government, and that's when reinventing government really came out. Privatization was a big thing. And that kind of took hold and held for a while, and now we're seeing it's kind of equivalent to that. So that's my update.
Okay.
That,
Thanks.
I would say kind of like going, Mrs. Lincoln, how did you enjoy the play? You know?
Yeah. Okay, any board member comments? I just have one thing. I've looked ahead at our future dates, and I may have missed something here. But in November, I believe that it is actually on Veterans Day.
We moved it to Monday the 10th.
Oh, then I did miss something. Okay.
That should be on your calendar already.
It probably is. I was just looking at Tuesday. Okay, I need a motion to adjourn. Glenn?
2 seconds.
Harris? Okay, we're adjourned.